Yeah, Coors. Did I see a Coors can?
Yes, it's a Coors.
Want to know what I'm drinking?
No. Dip it into your wife's stuff.
It's exactly what it is, dude. But if you're gonna drink the seltzers, bro, black can Trulies, they are the jam. They don't taste like a 9-volt battery.
Yeah.
They taste like a lemonade. I'm trying to wash my girlish figure, you know?
Yeah. So the White Claw Black Cherry, good. And then have you tried the what is it, like Half Moon seltzers or something? It's like
I haven't tried that. What? High Noon?
Yeah, High Noon. That's it. So it's vodka and something, or I don't know, like 4 cans in a pack.
Yeah. Do you follow Barstool Sports?
No, I sometimes I see it. I don't follow them, but I've seen some of their stuff. Yeah.
I think Dave Portnoy was like, the guy who owns it was like a salesman for them for like a week. It was awesome. But dude, that's the thing about the black can Trulies. Okay. The White Claws, which my wife did like, they still taste kind of like super acidic. Yeah. Where these taste like a flavor plus goodness. So yeah, just 2 cents, you know. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. Dude, try this. Do you drink vodka at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever hear of anything like kombucha? Okay. Like GT's brand? Okay. Take Watermelon Wonder flavor and mix that like 50-50 with vodka and squirt a little, like half a lime in there. Holy dude.
Interesting.
You can't taste the vodka at all, and you're drinking something that is just gonna one of those, and you're good, you know.
I was actually making kombucha for a while.
Really?
Yep. It's a pretty disgusting process.
I imagine, like live cultures and stuff.
Dude, I'm gonna try that drink then. That sounds really good. I'm not like, I actually like, if I'm gonna do like a mixed drink, tequila, dude, I'm just a sucker for margaritas, man.
Oh yeah,
salt on the rim margaritas. I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, dude, I remember I wanted to make margaritas, like fresh ones, so I squeezed like 100 goddamn limes, dude. I was squeezing limes for hours, dude, but they were good, you know. But
drink gone.
Yeah.
Next one, drink gone.
Yeah. I don't think it was worth it though, man. It was a lot of you know.
That's a lot of work, man. That is a lot of work. But that salt on the rim.
Yep.
Can't beat it, man.
All right, guys, welcome to the Broken Moto Show. This is episode 10, where Cody and myself answer tech questions that you submit to askbrokenmoto@gmail.com. And Cody is going to go over the 100 rules that we have. Go for it, man.
So we're just looking for great information. Modifications done, last thing you mess with, even how old the bike is, year, make, and model, mileage. That kind of information is super helpful for us to really pick out things that stand out to us. You'd be surprised at just the little tidbits that we get can kind of spark avenue that you haven't ventured down when it comes to solving your problem. So video is helpful. Some people send us sound clips. If you want to do a face-to-face, chat and send us a video, say, who you are, where you're from, that stuff is super helpful for us. And it also adds a little distraction from us, you looking at our ugly mugs as we read emails, so you can kind of mix it up that way as well. It's super helpful. That's really all we're looking for, Matt.
Yeah. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump into the first question. I'll take it.
Sweet.
This one is an 88 Honda NX125 with 6,000 miles. What's this guy's name? I don't think I pasted it right here. Let's see here. It's Kevin from Norco, California.
All right.
So if you're not familiar with this gem, only made in 88, 89, and 90. Electric start only. I bought off Craigslist from a good dude, told me it has not been started or run in about 5 years. Got it home, first thing, cleaned the carb with no luck starting. Bought an aftermarket carb. Aftermarket carb. We'll come back to that. And got the bike to start and run for a few minutes, but heard some bad noises in the cam valve area, so I shut it down. Pulled the valve caps and was amazed the adjusting screw for the intake valve was completely out and lying on the head. I reinstalled the screw. So this model probably has the screw and lock nut on the tappet style. Yep. Adjusted the valves and tried to start again. No luck. The engine turned over a lot faster than before, which made me check the timing. So I popped the covers and timing looked okay. Tried starter fluid, changed CDI. So we'll come back to that too. Spark plugs and spark. No luck. The best it seems to do is pop every 2 or 3 seconds. Compression is 120 PSI. So now I have torn the engine down to splitting the casings and not found anything. The valves are seated, but I have not removed them to see if they're bent or not. I'm concerned I'll get the engine together and still have a dead bike. Any advice? I've been subscribed to both of you for a while. Just discovered your collab. Great job. All right.
Woof.
I don't think he should have taken the engine apart. That was going way too deep. Compression is 120 PSI, so that means this thing should run.
Correct. With
spark and fuel and air. Those are the other two factors. So if you have compression, you need spark at the correct time.
Yep.
And then fuel and air. And that's it. So, I mean, if he started tearing down the engine, I think that was a wrong move.
Brutal. I will say that one of the biggest mistakes people can make doing that is if you don't know what you're looking for, you won't find what you're looking for.
Sure.
You know, if you're tearing down a motor and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you're just like, okay, that's next, that's off, that's next, that's off. And you're not looking for something. Not saying that he wasn't, but if you don't know what you're looking for, it's going to be really hard to find the problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, if the thing has 120 PSI and I start tearing it all down, there's nothing to find because it's generating compression.
It is.
So, but let's go back to the aftermarket carb. I'm sure you see this. You see $20 carburetors on eBay, Amazon, and you may get lucky and it might run.
Yeah.
But honestly, the best thing you can do is take your stock Honda carb or whatever and just do a thorough rebuild on it.
Yeah. Or have it professionally done.
And this is probably, this is a single carb. It's probably really simple.
Yep.
I don't know what style it is, but it's probably very easy to rebuild this guy.
Yeah.
And get it functional. But let's just forget the carb in general. Let's say you remove the carb from the bike. You have compression, brand new spark plug. If you just squirt starting fluid right in that intake and you crank it, it should go.
Yeah.
It should run for a solid 2-3 seconds. It should spike and come down. It should run. At that point, you got a runner, right?
Yep.
But then he changed the CDI, and I don't know with what brand or what.
Right.
So that's another red flag.
Especially for that bike. I don't know how he found that. He's in the U.S. He found a part for a non-U.S. bike. That bike's not over here.
Yeah. It's a cool bike. Little enduro bike.
Yeah, it looks like the what was the old, not the Africa Twin. What was the one before the Africa Twin? It was not, I keep wanting to say Alpine. It's not an Alpine. It's called a Honda, it's like an NX or NC or NT, and it's called the, I don't know.
I don't know
what I'm talking about?
man.
It was like white and red, big front fairing enduro bike, and it was called the Honda.
I have no idea, dude. It was here in the States?
Yep.
No, all I know is XR.
Dang it, dude. It's going to come to me here in a second. Hold on. Keep helping this guy out.
Okay. So, I mean, all right. Well, I mean, you took the engine apart, so put it back together. Okay. Yeah. Again, I don't know what aftermarket carb screams Chinese to me, and that's never a good situation.
Right.
The CDI, I don't know what you bought, but usually the CDI in this thing should be pretty reliable. I found.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be fine, and I doubt there's any timing adjustment on this model, right?
As far as ignition,
yeah,
I wouldn't think so, man.
You know,
I mean,
it's one of those set it and it's done deal, right?
In the 80s, they came out with it was electronic ignition, but you can sometimes change the plate.
Okay.
But not points. You guys change where the pulse was.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a few
Which
degrees.
plays a factor. It does play a factor.
Yeah, that's a few degrees, if anything. Yeah. But, okay, set that guide back to factory spec.
Stock. Yeah. Right.
Just try to run it without the carb. Brand new spark plug, stock Honda CDI, stock everything, and just see if it'll fire. Because, I mean, at 120 PSI, this thing should run no problem.
Correct.
I think that's
my big concern is him finding the tappet the way that it was. And it's very interesting that the bike, after he installed it correctly and did the valve adjustment, assuming he did it correctly on the top dead center compression, that the bike suddenly spin faster. That's a little weird to me.
Yeah.
I almost want to think that cam timing might have jumped, because cam timing can be out and the bike still try to fire. Like, I've seen it before. It can be off a tooth and still try to fire and won't bend the valve.
So if the
okay, he said he heard a lot of crazy noise.
So if the screw was completely out, then that valve may not have been an opening or opening at all, but it's an intake.
Right.
So I don't know. I never
have you ever seen a motor function or try to function with a stuck valve? So the valve's not bent, but the stem and guide have developed a nasty crud from old gas, people using bad gas in bikes, in generators. It happens a lot because the valves are the valve springs are so light and the valves are so light in generators that when they use old gas, they try to fire it up after like 7 years of using it.
Yeah.
And the valve will stick, and sometimes it will function and sometimes it won't function. Like, it's happened on Ruckuses to me, the scooters. It's happened on a number of different bikes, and literally, Matt, it will run fine. You'll take it out for a test ride, and you'll come back in, and then it will no longer run. And you'll get it to fire up off starting fluid, and you'll take it out for a ride, and it'll cut off when you're riding, and you'll bring it back in, and then it'll fire right up again.
Yeah, I haven't come across that yet.
Yep, it's literally the valve sticking it in the guide. It's not bent. Sense. Yep. So I've seen that. That's a very rare case, but I've seen it. I've seen it more than 5 times. For some reason, cam timing sparked my interest. So when you're reassembling the motor, you should have a manual in front of you to give you specifications. You're going to want to check to figure out did he say what stock compression ratio is?
Compression or compression ratio?
I'm sorry,
compression.
Compression, yeah.
No,
but
he has 120, so that's good.
Correct. So he can. He should be able to measure things. You know, he can measure the ring end gap. He can measure a bunch of different things. One of the things he needs to measure, or not measure, but check, just make sure it's good, is the cam timing. I have a feeling that the cam timing might have been off, and he needs to pay very close attention to crank to cam timing and make sure it's not 180 out, because it may look correct. He said that it looked fine, but that doesn't mean much to me. So he needs to pay attention very close to that, and maybe if ignition is adjustable.
Yeah, so, I mean, if the cam timing was off, then the compression would be out of whack, right? If it was way off.
I mean, it was.
I mean, You know what I'm saying?
Right, but that tappet thing was out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder why that is.
I think you're right that the compression may not be what it should be reading, but it's and
I mean, if you're a tooth off here or there, sure, the PSI may go up or down or whatever,
right.
but like he's getting 120.
Right.
So it's
not compression. It's not a compression issue. Yeah.
Right. But
which means that the valves are sealing. Correct. I agree.
Right. But that's weird that I've never seen one backed out. Like,
right.
I mean, can't say, I mean, obviously it happened, but I haven't
seen. It happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens from previous owner or bad technician. But, right now he's probably staring at a motor that's completely apart watching this and is like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So, yeah. He needs to make sure it goes back together how it should be.
Yeah. But I mean, put it back together, but yeah, maybe disassemble the valves like you mentioned and make sure that's all good.
They're not sticking.
Yeah. And then, check for bent valves, obviously, because that thing backed out. I don't know what the hell is going on there.
Yeah. But a quick way he can check that is just install the valves in the valve springs and guides and, holders. Keepers, whatever you want to call them, and just pour some gasoline down the intake tunnel and pour some gasoline down the exhaust tunnel. You should see no seepage coming out of the exhaust. If you hold it up, just keep it nice and level, you should see no seepage. If you see seepage, you have an issue. Right.
I actually have a video on that. I'm working on this.
Oh, sweet.
Chevelle LS Turbo project, and these I sent the heads out for a valve job, and prior to that, I wanted to cheap out and just lap the valves and whatnot. And I did that, but I was getting a little bit of seepage and I did a bunch of lapping and the valve contact patch started getting wide, you know? So, when you, when you start grinding, they were really pitted and I'm just like, you know what? Probably needs a valve job and I just got to spend the money.
Right. And they do a pretty good job. So it was a smart move.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm still secretly trying to look for what this bike was called.
Oh.
I don't know why I forgot it, dude. It was such a cool bike in the 90s, like 91, 92. 91 Honda Enduro. Let me see something. No, that's the XR600. Dang it, Matt.
I don't know, man. I don't remember it.
I keep wanting to say like twin something. Twin, I don't know. Move on. It's question number 2. Hello, my name is Sean. For background, I have a 2002 Honda Shadow Sabre VT1100 C2 California model. I bought it in February, but the dealership never gave me the paper showing everything they did to it, and that's not uncommon. It had 39,000 miles. I was totally inexperienced, but ended up having to do a bunch of routine maintenance myself. Also had to fix a coolant leak from the crossover tubes, which it's like a little tube in between the two cylinders or two O-rings that go bad, what have you. This is where I don't understand what he's saying, but he says riding on the bottom of each case half, as well as what I see as a screwdriver chip in the seam from prying on it, like prying it apart. So I think what he says indicates the engine has been removed and separated for major repair. So I guess someone wrote on the cylinder.
Yeah. So I've seen this, like when people or shops work on people's motorcycles and they split the cases or whatever, they'll engrave something.
Okay. Like front, rear or something like that.
The customer's name or something to identify the parts as they get dispersed in the shop, right? Or whatever. So I've seen that.
Yeah. I've seen that too, actually. So I actually done that. So
yeah, you're the guy writing on everyone's cases.
I'm the guy. All right. Anyways, I've got most of it sorted, but out of nowhere, some thick black sludge oozed out of my fuel pump breather tube. These have a fuel pump that lies underneath the rear swing arm, so right behind the battery. On the left-hand side, underneath the swing arm. But every other ride or so, a drop or two of black liquid comes out. It's never as thick as it was the first day, and never as much comes out. The only thing I've ever done to the fuel system is put seafoam in it, only because it has a bit of a hesitation in second gear until it's fully warmed up, which sounds actually completely normal to me. Have you ever seen anything like this? If I had a leak in the diaphragm of the fuel pump, wouldn't gas be leaking out of the hose like crazy? P.S. My manual says to remove the air box and the swing arm to replace the fuel pump. Please tell me there's an easier way. If I had to do that, please tell me there's an easier way if I have to do that. Can I at least replace the filter without taking the bike apart? So I'm going to say normal. I don't know what the black sludge is, but what that is leaking out of, it being the fuel pump, is on the end of the pump that has no fluid going through it. So you're looking at like the housing cover side versus like the fuel pump side. If you have a pump that's like a pill, okay, and you have one side that's all it is just a cover to go over the electronics part, and then you have this side which is actually doing the pumping of the fuel, if that makes sense to you. The black ooze, the breather tube is there for a reason.
So hold up. Is this actually a breather tube to the fuel pump?
Yes.
Really?
Fuel pump has a little tube that just kind of dips down towards the ground.
So it's probably to equalize the pressure.
Equalize the pressure. It could be for, I don't know if the fuel pump, how hot the fuel pump gets. It could be a moisture thing. I'm not exactly sure as to why there's one there, but there's one there for a reason. And because of that, I think he's worrying too much about it.
Okay.
If the bike's operating fine, don't fix it if it ain't broke. Just because the breather tube or vent tube or whatever the tube is for has, some kind of substance coming out of it. They put a tube there for a reason. It's got to go to the ground. Why else would they do that?
Yeah. It's just, well, first of all, I didn't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned something new today.
Yeah.
And second of all, he included a pic, so we'll show it right now. Mm-hmm. But man, it looks like it's right out of a grease gun, dude. It looks like that tube's like a little grease gun just pumping away, and it's just
right
pissing out of there. That stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
And I've seen it before. I mean, I've done oil changes, and you look at the black tube, and it's almost like it's covered in something. But the system's working fine. The bike operates normally. Blah 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 blah. I'm not going to replace the fuel pump. There's no reason to, because there's a vent line there for a reason. There's a vent line on maintenance style batteries for a reason. It leaks. If it hits your frame, guess what? It's going to eat through your frame. You probably shouldn't have it pointing towards your rear tire or onto the frame or whatever. So I'm going to say that it's not as important as you would think, and that what the ooze is black magic.
Wipe it off and
it's venting. Your fuel pump is venting. Whatever the hell is venting, I don't know. And no, you do not have to remove the battery box. You can remove the battery box, so it's definitely easier to remove the battery box. But you'll also be specifically talking to you, is you'll be removing the CDI that's on the back side towards the rear of the bike. That's kind of a pain in the ass. Taking the frame of the battery box out is kind of a pain in the butt. But once you remove the battery, you'll be looking directly down at the fuel pump, and you do not need to remove the swing arms. Do not listen to that. You can do all your work by just reaching up underneath its skirt and taking out the parts that you need to. But you can visually see what you're doing once the battery is removed. That's my advice to him. You can do the fuel pump, the fuel filter, the fuel lines, anything you want to do in that section without removing any of the swing arm stuff. But if you crack your coolant overflow tank, you are removing the swing arm.
That sucks.
It sits in between the engine and the swing arm, the front end of the swing arm, and you are not removing that.
What about his hesitation?
Well, he says that it's fine once it heats up.
Right. So is that just it's just lean as it's warming up?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
If he really wants to solve it, I have a carb video on VT1100 carb cleans where I show how to shim the needle, for the main jet needle. And that really helps with cold start stuff. Other than that, a bike operating normally once it's heated up is what? It's normal.
Yeah, sure. I mean, some bikes are just a little lean from the factory.
Absolutely.
When you shim the needle, do you go like 40 thousandths with a small washer, roughly?
I do a number 4 steel washer. So
yeah, and the thickness is roughly about 40 thou, right? Yeah. Okay.
It's as if you move the clip position.
Sure, but there's no clip on this guy, so you
Correct.
just shim it with the washer.
You shim it.
Yeah.
But that helps with cold starts.
Gotcha.
I've done it to a lot of them, and they run, just awesome. So,
what do the fuel screws usually end up at on these bikes?
I would do 3 to 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, it would benefit from a larger pilot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've done both. I've done, like, on some of these older Shadows in the 80s, I did both. More pilot jet and the needle shim trick, and oh my god, it like runs.
It wakes them up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like, whoa, there's like 5 horse right here. Nice. you know,
drop, and like it's real quick. Drops back down to idle. So, where were you setting the mixers at once you bump the idles, and what were you bumping the idles up to?
So on this 87 750, I went 2 sizes larger on the pilot. 2 sizes.
So if it's a 40, you're going to a 42?
45.
Okay.
I don't know what the sizes were, but I went, like, let's say, if they were 40, the next jump is 42, then 45. And the mixture screws still ended up at 3 turns. And I shimmed the needle. But, dude, the thing freaking ran awesome.
They rip.
It was like, oh, my God, dude, this thing's, you can
choke, just boom.
Start it on choke, warm it up, turn the choke off, and just go.
Rip.
It was
awesome.
It felt good.
Yeah, and that I think that would likely solve Sean's issue as far as the hesitation goes. But a lot of bikes are cold-blooded, so it's not abnormal for that to have that issue.
Sure.
Question 3, Matt. This one's all yours.
Oh, dude, you gave me the hard one, right? All right, question 3. Cody. Well, it's addressed to you, so I see. I feel left out, but that's okay on this one. All right, I have an 03 Yamaha VStar 1100. It's been in the state of repair for 3 years. I figured out several issues and repaired them. I'm hoping you can help me with my current problem. My turn signals were not working, so rather than try to replace the turn signal switch, I got the whole unit, high, low, beam switch, turn signal switch, and horn button. I didn't disconnect the choke cable at the carbs, but disconnected it from the base of that unit. Okay, so this thing has a lever at the handlebars to operate the choke. Now I'm having a hell of a time to get it back together. Should have taken pictures, but I didn't. Now when I try to put it together, it feels like the Three Stooges trying to hang wallpaper. Oh, man, I hate wallpaper. My wife's on a wallpaper kick right now.
Oh, really?
Sucks. But at least it's self-adhesive. Like, you just slap it on there, but it's still...
Okay.
Don't tell your wife about it, dude. You'll be hanging wallpaper for days. Anyway, there are 3 different washers. One is black, which appears to have 6 separate feet that I think goes on the bottom, a flat washer on top, then the choke cable handle, and another flat washer on the top. Then there's an issue of getting the choke cable in the notch on the side of the housing. If you can provide me with any help, I would greatly appreciate it. J. Middleton, Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina.
So believe it or not, you just painted the picture in my head. Okay. Yeah. So he's got the assembly with the switches on it.
Yeah.
He's got, it's almost like a circle dial on 1100s. They have like a little lever, and you pull the lever down, right? And it opens and choke things up. Somehow, by God's grace, he managed to undo the assembly and get the choke out of that spin dial. Probably forced it. Probably using those pliers, bent the wire a little bit, got it out. but it shouldn't be easy to get it out from there because normally you would replace that wire from the carbs up. Okay, because that's actually where you're able to adjust free play and that kind of stuff. There may even be a free play adjustment like a throttle cable. Like on throttle cable A, there'll be like a adjustment you can make to tighten the free play up on the throttle.
Yeah. So
they'll have that on the choke cable as well. So you're not like turning the dial like halfway and then finally it's functioning and then you turn it the rest of the way. You can adjust that. What he needs to do is remove the cable from the carbs. He needs to finish disassembling that because that's going to give him all the play up at the cable because he's going to have springs attached to either plungers or whatever's going on that's taking up the slack for him to be able to pull it out more and attach it to the circle thing and then put it around. I think the washer thing, which is I have no idea what he's talking about, 0 idea, but it sounds like he said that washer has 6 feet, which Bing sparked that little star washer, the little it's like a gnarly star lock washer. Have you seen those?
No.
And it's supposed to, like, when you tighten the nut down, it'll like grab onto the metal.
Oh, like an external lock washer.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I think it is.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It just locks onto the bottom of the assembly. So he needs to just undo the cables at the bottom, free play it up, hang 10 and get it on there.
Okay, so he's got to take the plungers out of the carbs.
Yeah.
And then it's on that, you just retract the spring and release the plunger from
likely.
And then remove the spring. So there's 2 parts down there.
Correct.
4 total because there's 2 carbs.
Bingo.
And then you should be able to get the free play you need to do whatever at the handlebar.
I think he's fighting that, He's fighting those 2 springs, and he's like, oh, and it won't go on.
Yeah. And he also mentioned he doesn't know how to put it back together. And I think you looked at the parts diagram, and it didn't show that, right?
I couldn't find nothing.
Yeah. And I'm not familiar with this exact arrangement.
Me neither. It sounds familiar, but that's the best advice I can give.
Yeah. That's all I have, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're smarter than you look, Matt.
I just pretend to be.
All right. Is this question 4?
Yep.
All right, let's rock this out. Holy crap, it's 11:10.
Where you live.
Where I live. All right, question 4. Hey, guys, love you. Wait, did I just read? No, you did. Sorry. Hey, guys, dude, I have to piss. Real quick.
Go for it. I'll pause it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Hey, guys. Love the YouTube page. I've been watching your stuff for months, trying to figure out issues on my bike. And while you have been a huge help, I'm stuck on this issue that I've tried fixing so many times, and I'm in so many different ways. I'm not a bike mechanic or mechanic of any kind. However, I worked on cars all my life and have fixed most of my issues myself on vehicles. So working on a bike is similar in some ways and extremely different in others. So bear with me as I am just getting into the motorcycle world. I have a 1996 Honda CBR600F3, an awesome sport bike, one of my favorites. It has, actually the F4i is my favorite bike. This is a carbureted model. Noted. It has about 65,000 miles, which is a lot for a sport bike. Yeah. Everything is stock from my knowledge. Just a little background. My name is Phil from Oregon. I've ridden motorcycles before, but I've never owned one and was really excited to buy one from my friend who had one in his garage that hadn't been ridden in a while. Apparently, it had electrical issues. According to my friend, according to my friend. So I bought it. So I brought it to my garage, immediately changed the battery, spark plugs, and oil. The bike started up after that, so I was really excited. I found the electrical issue pretty quick. I don't know what that was. I'm curious as to what that was. After that, I took it out in first and second gear, ran great, but in third and fourth, never got higher than that. I would lose any acceleration. No matter how hard I would pull the throttle, the engine would not rev. RPMs would not go up, and I wouldn't go any faster than 30 miles per hour. So I did some digging. After solving some issues, 1, replace stator, regulator rectifier, solved the electrical issue. Okay, there's the answer. Question 2, solving number 2, cleaned and rebuilt carbs following Cody's class on rebuilding the inline 4 carb set, which is awesome. Put 135s in the outer carbs and 138s in the inner carbs. Found this as a stock setting through a Honda form. Original jetting was 138s across the board. He actually was able to clean his carburetors off of an inline 4 carb product that I have, Matt, that I don't even cover. So that says some pretty cool things about the inline 4 carb cleaning class that I have, because I don't even cover that carb, but the information was there for him to, at least do a decent job.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. I was actually really excited to hear that. I sync the carbs, but I'm having a hard time accessing the fuel mixture screws to adjust those to spec, which is important. I replaced the petcock and the fuel pump because it was an old bike and had old gas sitting in it for who knows how long. What we don't know is what brand fuel pump he used. Replaced the clutch because it was burnt out. Replaced the throttle cables because they were sticking, and it has a new stock air filter. I finally got it out and rode it again, and none of that solved the issue. No acceleration after second gear issue. The bike is now apart again. I did a compression test on the engine and got good compression. Could it be as simple as adjusting the fuel mixture screws? Should I have kept the original jetting, or should I reference what I found on the internet? Any advice would be great. Thank you for your time. Best, Phil. And this is a really tough one because he covered a lot of different outs for us.
Areas, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Man.
It's tough. This is a tough one.
Oh, man, where do I start? Okay, so it has good compression. So the engine's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
He rebuilt the carbs. So, okay, so the issue is he's accelerating. First, second is fine, and then he gets into third and fourth, and it's having issues. But I need a little more details on what throttle position and RPM it's coming in at, because I think, if something's wrong, it should be kind of apparent. You would think it would be apparent in any gear.
Right.
Why is it third and fourth? Like what is he doing different in those gears? And then the problem's coming up. So
right.
That's the key missing point, I think, here, or key information that we're missing.
Yeah, because he says 30 miles per hour. So he's not going very fast, which makes it even more difficult.
I mean, is he accelerating first, second, like really fast, and then third, fourth?
Lugging third and fourth, yeah.
Is lugging it, because what I'm getting at is, like, for carburetors, it's throttle position based.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you pinpoint an area for carburetors.
Right.
I don't think it's the mixture screws, because you're past 1A throttle. Once you're past 1A throttle, it's pilot jet's out of the picture for the most part. It's needle and main.
Right.
Okay. What else? I don't think it's the mains, because he's saying, is it the 135s and the 138s? That's a small difference. You're not gonna have this big of an issue with that small of a change.
If that was the problem, it'd be way above 30 mile an hour.
It'd be
at the top of every gear.
What is that thing redline at? 10K plus 12K, 14K.
Right.
I mean, you'd be 10 to 14K is where you'd expect that problem to arise. Yeah. And then he's got a bunch of parts that he replaced. And again, what brand? There's a lot of aftermarket Chinese stuff that, dude, it's you're rolling dice on any of that stuff.
Right.
How about you, man? What do you got?
So on these bikes, they have what's called a fuel cut relay. And that's a relay. It's not similar to like a bank angle, what we like to call a bank dangle sensor.
Okay.
Which is just the angle of the bike for when the fuel pump is designed to cut off. So there's a little like switch in the front of the head or front of the nose of the bike, and once it reaches a certain angle, it will cut either the ignition or it will cut fuel pump power. What's interesting, which I've never been able to really fully understand, is that the bikes that are designed to have that bank angle sensor, they'll also be equipped with a fuel cut relay, but the relays are different because there's a bank angle relay and there's a fuel cut relay. So they're almost talking to each other. It's almost like the fuel cut relay is saying, it's waiting for a different input, like kickstand up, in neutral, certain. It's. If I had a manual out, I could tell you better, but I know that they have a fuel cut relay, and what I found happen was the fuel cut relay was corroded on the inside or it was bad, and that would cut fuel once a certain RPM was reached. And I'll tell you a very interesting way as to how I found this. I was riding I had a great customer who had a CBR1000, and he had full motor work done, high compression, port and polish done. And he said, listen, at 137, the bike will shut down. And in my field, that's a little sketchy to be able to go and test ride that bike at 137. And he said, go 135, 137, and just pull the throttle all the way back, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So waited till just before lunch and took the bike out on a road. And once you hit 134, 135, and pulled the throttle full back and got to like 137, it would just go brrr, and just start to slow down. And that had a fuel cut relay. And what I did was I hooked up an LED strip of lights to the fuel cut relay to read input sensor from the fuel cut relay to the fuel pump. This is probably more sophisticated than maybe what he can do, but he can try it. He can also do this straight to the fuel pump. But I hooked up a light in between those 2 points. So the fuel cut relay should be getting constant signal, and the fuel pump should be getting constant signal. If there was a disconnect between those two systems, my light should shut off. The LED light, I duct taped it to the tank of this guy's bike, and I took it out for another ride. And sure enough, Matt, at 135, 137, that light went off. And for some reason, there was a disconnect between the fuel cut relay and the fuel pump. And I jumped the two wires that crossed in between them, which I just bypassed them, because they're in the harness somewhere. I'm not going to screw with that. I'm just going to bypass and make a new harness. Boom, done. I went out for another test ride at 135, ripped the throttle, and I kid you not that bike wanted to try to stand up after going 135. I don't know what's under that motor, but it was incredible. But I say all that to say that the fuel cut relay plays a part in what the fuel pump is doing. And I don't know, like you said, we don't know what fuel pump he used. And he could have a problem with the fuel cut relay that may not just be like pin. If it's all good, it's right. It may be something that's a disconnect between the two systems.
Damn, dude, I didn't know that. So what is the purpose of the fuel cut relay?
The fuel cut relay cuts fuel pump action under a certain signal condition. So and then it's playing off of the ECU, which is a mystery box. All ECUs are mystery boxes when it comes to knowing what's going on inside of them and what signal input relay. But CBRs have them, CBR1000s have them, CBR600s have them. A lot of different bikes, F4i has them. And when that fuel pump is run through that system, and I looked on I went to Partzilla real quick, partzilla.com, looked up his system, saw the carburetor, saw the fuel pump, and I looked in the wiring harness for that fuel cut relay, and it did have one. Okay. And if I could tell you what it's reading from specifically, I would probably deserve a raise at work. I just don't know right now, partially because of how late it is and because of just I haven't seen one in a while, but it definitely has to do with input signal from either the ECU or it's coming from kill switch signal, and something else. It's something else that I'm missing right now that triggers the fuel pump to say, hey, you're good to run no matter what. As soon as the fuel cut relay has a problem, it cuts pressure to the fuel cut relay or the fuel pump, and all it does is just shut the fuel pump down. Say no more.
Yeah, and then you're just running off the bowls.
Right. And whether he's having that issue, this was a really hard one, but this is what came to mind was the fuel cut relay and the fuel pump. We don't know what fuel pump it is. 4 carbs demanding volume output from a fuel pump that is not the correct fuel pump could be an issue, because they are demanding a lot.
Yeah.
He's not going very fast. This was really hard for me to toss around because it's not like it's like a high RPM situation. It's more like a low RPM lug from what it sounds like. He never got out of first or second. I don't know if he was able to rev to 10 grand in first. And
yeah,
second.
we don't know. We don't know the mile an hour. We don't know the throttle position.
If he bought an aftermarket fuel pump, that would be what I'd replace first. And then the fuel cut relay.
Yeah, he could put LED strips on his tank and,
Go 135.
Christmas is coming. So,
Christmas is coming. Hey, dude, I was actually amazed that it worked.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. I mean, and what's the bank relay for?
So the bank angle sensor is a device. It's like a tip-over sensor.
Okay.
If the bike goes over on its side, it reaches a certain degree and it cuts the ignition.
So, and the fuel pump, right?
It depends.
Okay, so that doesn't piss gas all over the place.
Right.
EPA.
Fuel cut relay could be tagged into that bank angle. On the newer, more sophisticated models, they did. They tagged them into each other. So it cut ignition and fuel pump at the same time.
Dude, speaking of sensors, my buddy has a drag bike. I think he's got he's got a built bike with a Hayabusa motor, and that's 1,300 stock, and it's built up to like a 16. Anyway, this thing goes like, I think he's trying to hit 6s in the quarter. Okay.
My God.
He has a goddamn sensor on there. If it starts to wheelie, it pulls timing and whatever, so he can just stay in the throttle and it'll bring it back down.
Wow.
I mean, this thing is insane, dude.
That is cool.
It's, man,
I got turboed or just naturally aspirated?
A lot of nitrous.
Okay.
I mean, I think this thing is close to like 300 horse or something crazy. And I mean,
that is cooking, man.
I mean, dude. Yeah. And no wheelie bar. It's like some class where you're only allowed a certain amount of tire, a certain length, and then it's up to the rider to keep the goddamn thing.
Where does he race it at? Is it near you or?
Yeah, at the Byron drag strip. Yeah.
That's incredible. There was a guy who has good friend of the shop since the 80s. He has a 750 dual overhead cam that he drag races, and he's got it all pimped out. But it's got a pneumatic air shifter. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, those are cool.
And you just run all the way through the gears with no clutch.
Hooked up to the horn button or whatever.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool because it kills the ignition for a split second.
Exactly.
Unloads the trans and you just whoop, whoop.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, that's
pretty
awesome.
cool stuff, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have the balls for it.
Yeah, I on my old GSXR 750, I wanted I wanted to build that thing as a sleeper. I never did, but I wanted to put just a kill switch on the shifter. So you just stay in the gas, and when you shift up, it would kill the ignition. And so you wouldn't have to. You wouldn't have an air shifter that is visible, right?
Yeah.
So you're just.
It's like a quick shifter before they were implemented.
Yeah.
Pretty much. On the new CB1000R or the new CBR1000, 2019, Honda makes a quick shifter.
Okay.
That you plug into their wire harness, and you don't need to use the clutch anymore.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
So you're just manually.
Dude, as soon as you shift it. Yep. it knows what to do. And you can shift that thing, and there's no delay. There's no nothing. It's literally as if you're power shifting perfectly every time.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. And you just plug it right in, dude. Right into the harness.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. They're doing some incredible stuff. I actually saw, we do storage. We're ranting, dude. I think we're done, actually.
Yeah, we're done.
But I haven't talked to you in a while, Matt. I just missed you, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a few weeks.
We store bikes in the wintertime at the shop. We have a big storage facility. Back in the 70s, they were smart enough to build a storage place for in the off season, so we can still make money in the shop. That's literally the only reason why we're still around from 68 till now, because we have a storage facility right next to the shop that we own, and we store bikes in the wintertime. And I just got in a 2020 R1 that I'm storing for 6 months. Military guy. You do a lot of military storage here. And I had never seen an R1 from 2020, and I was riding it around, and they actually have brake input as a digital signal gauge on the readout. So you look down at your meter, and they have on to the right, you input handbrake and foot brake, and it literally is a gauge. It's like 70%, 80%, 20%. Goes down the other way if you're doing rear brake.
Wow.
Really cool. I mean, to me, it's pointless. But if you're doing it on the track, or you need that type of information, like how heavy you're going into the corner or whatever, it's there. And I thought that was just badass. I've never seen it. Honda does not do that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you like, I was like, ooh, I applied a front brake, hold the gauge, race up, apply the rear brake.
That's a cool feature, man.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yamaha R1, shout out. Yamaha.
Yeah. So
sponsor us.
pressure sensors on that, and you get some kind of readout, and
it's no longer just telling you turn the brake light on. Now it's like brake light and input.
Nice.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I'll never see that because I work on older stuff, but hey.
I know, but but sometimes, Matt, it's just nice to have good stuff, which is why you're building the nice motor you got now, man. It's just gonna be nice to have nice stuff.
It's all
one day.
One day
that thing fire up, bro.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Tight. Well, I'll take us out of this. That was the last question. Yep. So, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for keeping this channel alive with your questions, which are super important for us to get. Without your questions, we would not have the Broken Moto Show. I probably wouldn't be talking to Matt as much as we are now. So, best way to contact us is how, Matt?
The email is askbrokenmoto@gmail.com.
You notice how I slide that over to you every time so I don't have to do it?
Yeah. All right. So when you submit your questions, your make, model, mileage, videos, pictures, are super helpful. Yeah.
Check out Matt's YouTube channel. He's going through a motor rebuild on his what was it, Chevelle. Sorry, Chevelle.
So I'm taking a quick break from motorcycles and just doing something that I've been wanting to do for 15 years now. So I'm all pumped up about it. So
I'm pumped about it too. If you guys don't know, I do have, if you guys need more in-depth help on your bike, I do offer a inner circle is what I'm calling it, where I can really help in a community of riders who are actually really smart. These guys are incredible, who have kind of stayed with me since day one, and we can help dive into your bike in further detail and, one-on-one conversations and that kind of stuff. So it's called the Inner Circle membership. Check it out, motorcyclemd.com.
Awesome.
That's all I got, man.
Yeah, me too, man.
So any information that we gave as far as videos or carb cleans or memberships or channels that we are promoting will be in the description below, so you guys can find them all there.
That's right.
So until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Later.